there and welcome to my channel. I'm just sitting down to plan out the week of March 16th through 25th, and I've got my plan to create blank inserts right here in front of me, and I'm going to start out with a little masking tape. This is just post-it masking tape, and I have the really wide, I think it's like 3 inches or something across, so I end up taking a length of it and then I'm going to split it right down the middle and mask off the top of both of the sides of my planner pages here. So what I want is that nice clean edge, and I'm going to cover up my days of the week and line it right up with the top edges of my columns. I'm going to do that on both sides. And then what I wanted was I wanted to create a background up above my columns with just repeated stamping. And I have a really nice clean stamp that says the word March, and I'm just going to repeat that over and over again and create a subtle background up there and add a little interest. So I'm using this Studio Calico monthly stamp set and that March across the top that is sort of the thin font. I'm going to use that stamp over and over, and I want to choose a like kind of a pale pool colored ink so that I get a pretty background but not too bold. So I go ahead and get a block for this. And I did go through my inks and pick out some swatches already, and what I came up with was this ink cube from Simon Says Stamp. This is just a dye ink. Any color that you like would do here, but I thought this was really pretty, and you can see the color scheme that I end up with as the page evolves. So I am going to just repeat stamp this on an angle, and I'm mixing it up every time so that the letters aren't right on top of each other. I want to vary the position of the word. And once I'm done and I peel it back, then I have a nice crisp clean edge to reveal my columns. And I'm going to pull this up a little closer. That ink is really light and it's kind of blown out here on camera, but I'm going to bring it up closer in a minute so that you can get a better look at how that background looks. I can't remember if I do that on this page or once I have both sides done. But before I move to the other side, I am going to grab some kind of puffy alpha stickers. I think that I got these in a kit from Hip Kit Club. It's more of a scrapbooking style kit, but I just love the font of these, and they're a really cool shiny, like almost metallic blue, just really pretty letters. So I'm just spelling out the word March with the letters, and I'm just, I kind of wish I had grabbed my tweezers, but I'm just grabbing them with my fingers, and I'll go through and put all the letters down. And then these alpha sheets also come with some other little miscellaneous shapes, like I have a little tiny heart here that I put in front of the word, and then there are a couple little, they're not really true arrows, they're like a greater than sign, but if I put 3 of them in a row there, they kind of form like an arrow shape. And again, I don't know why I wasn't grabbing my tweezers. I think at this point I was just being stubborn, but I'm just fiddling around with these with my fingers to line them up, and I'll put 3 of these little arrows in a row. And these sheets had other cute things too. They had little X's and like asterisks, and of course all the punctuation and stuff. So you could get creative with how you want to decorate your title. But I was really happy with how that turned out. You can see how subtle that stamping is in the background, but in real life it does add a really nice layer of interest behind there. So it's certainly worth doing. So here I am getting it a little closer. I zoomed in a little bit here, and you can see the stamping a little bit better, I think. I think it looks really cool. So now I'm pulling out this rectangular event stamp, and this is from Scraptastic. It's an older, I think it's Scraptastic. Gosh, I gotta double check that. It's an older Scraptastic Club set. And I wanted to go across the top of each column because I am trying to track workouts and steps and everything each day, trying to track my activity. I've recently got my Apple Watch, and wow, I just love how it motivates me because it is constantly reminding me of my goals and how close I am to meeting them and stuff. So tracking it on my calendar is great too, because it just kind of makes sure that I find time for it in my day. And so I've stamped those on all 5 of the weekdays. I don't put them on the weekends. If I get to a workout on the weekend, that's a bonus, but I don't plan it out. And then I've gone ahead and just put a little heart in each of the little cutouts from those rectangles, just because to me that sort of signifies health and taking care of me. And then I am grabbing this Sweet Stamp Shop. This is a really recent, I think it's a January release set. And I love this little tiny stamp in here that says steps and just has a blank line. So I'm going to add that in because I do want to track my steps each day and just see it in print. And I'm looking here, sorry about my head getting in the way, I'm trying to decide whether I want it in the box or underneath the box. I also want to leave room for what other exercise I'm doing, so I ultimately decided to put it under the box. And I didn't want you to see, you know, the back of my head for the whole time, so I just zipped forward and now I have stamped all those all the way across. So I'll go right ahead and put my dates in. And I'm just going to use, again, this is an older Scraptastic set, and it's just really, really simple numbers. And I just find that they're so useful. I grab for these all the time. So I'm just going to go ahead and stamp these out. They're individual numbers, so you do have to stamp each digit separately, even when you have a 2-digit date. So I'll go through and do that until my week is complete. And I'm just choosing inks here, like I believe that's Coastal Cabana ink. It's a little bit darker than that ink I used for the March across the top. And then the other ink that I used for the exercise boxes is called Melon from Simon Says Stamp. Looks really yellow on the camera, but it's actually more of a like a melony color, sort of a peachy cantaloupe color. It looks really pretty. So I'm grabbing out a pack of stickers, and I knew I had these in here somewhere. And again, these kind of look gray on camera, but really they have more of a blue cast to them in real life, and I hope in the still shot you'll be able to see that. But I wanted to create homes for to-do lists across the bottom of each page, so I'm just using these. And I love when a set, like this comes from Studio Calico, and I love when they give you so many of the same color, so you can create your whole page with some uniformity if you don't want to alternate. So I'm just going to pull those up and you can get a little closer look at some of this stamping I've done so far. And I'm happy with sort of my structure that I've laid down here. I'm playing around with some of these other washi strips. This is also from Studio Calico. And this one is a sort of a pale blue with a very thin diagonal stripe. And I'm going to cut this one so that I can put it on both the right and the left page so that they kind of not connect, but so that your eye kind of goes back and forth between the two. And I first put this one down, and then I decide to put a label in there. So you're going to see I move the one on the left-hand side over a little bit. So I see this big label that I have printed. These are printable labels from Studio Calico that I play around with the size and the shape a little bit to make them suitable for my planner. And I like these, sometimes I like to have them so that they span across more than just one column. Like for this example, I want it to appear as though this is a heading for the entire week, not just for Wednesday. So I like that it's a little longer like that. And so I just moved my washi strip over a little bit to allow room for that. So now this header, I want it to indicate that, you know, this is my section for to-do lists, even though it's a little obvious. And I have a little stamp that's from Sweet Stamp Shop, and it has the words to do and the word list, separate stamps, but they're all the same font and the same size. So they're going to line up nicely in that label. I wanted a little bit of a darker ink color for that, so I went back to my ink swatches, and I'm in the same teal family, but I'm going a little darker with a color called Island Indigo from Stampin' Up. If you guys watch my videos, I'm sure you see that I really love my Stampin' Up inks. They are among my favorites, especially for planners. They don't seem to bleed through planner paper or even shadow, even some of the darker colors. Now, when you're stamping on a label like this, that's not as much of a concern, but I am comfortable using these even just straight on my paper. So if you don't have any Stampin' Up! Inks and you're looking to build a collection, they have gorgeous colors and really good quality ink pads, and I'm really happy with it. Okay, so you can see I have stamped to do and list, and now see those 3 tiny little arrows? Those come from another Studio Calico set. I'm not sure if you can still get it or not. I will take a look on their website, but I liked how it sort of mimicked my 3 arrows from above for my title. So I added those right there in the in my label, and I also think it sort of helped to fill up the label as well. And then on the left side of those words, I was looking for a little something to fill the label on that side too. And I'm flipping through my stickers and I end up finding just a little star just to add a pop of color and, as I said, balance that out. This one that I choose, it looks really orange on the camera, and it looks like it kind of comes out of nowhere, but really it's closer in real life to the stamp color of my exercise boxes than it looks. So it does tie in nicely, and it ends up looking cohesive. So at this point, I am pulling out all of my labels that I always print out from Studio Calico, as I mentioned before, and I have left this big chunk of space in the middle, and I decided to do all of my events, like my scheduled events for the week, with labels. And I just thought I would kind of stick with a few colors and keep it kind of cohesive all the way through. I am referring to my Apple Watch, which has my calendar, and to some other notes that I have jotted down off screen. But I'm just placing down labels everywhere that I know I have an event. And if I have events that are close together or overlapping in time, then I create just a little cluster of stickers so that you know, it's okay that I've got 2 things going on at the same time or pretty close to each other. So Monday morning, I've got a handful of things going on. I think a doctor's appointment and, you know, kids drop-offs and all the normal stuff. So I've got a couple stickers going over there. And then before I continue with the labels, I'm looking at my calendar and I realize Tuesday is the first day of spring. It won't feel like it in Michigan for a while, but it is a little ray of hope. So I am pulling out the first day of spring stamp from that March Studio Calico set, the same one that I used for my background up top. And I cut it. I don't know if you guys have ever done that or if you're comfortable doing it, but I do it all the time. It was just too long to fit across my column. And you could mask it if you want, but I was perfectly happy to just cut carefully in between the words and then stamp them stacked on top of each other instead of as one long phrase. And you can always line them right back up and stamp it together when you want to, but you know, cutting your photopolymer stamps like that does not hurt them. I found another little washi strip, again from Studio Calico, with these cute little hearts. So I'm just pulling a little length of that out and putting it under that stamp just to add a little more weight to that. And then I'll just put the remainder of that strip right back down on the sheet that it came from. I think this is the Hello Forever collection or designer. So I have got Monday and Tuesday started, and I'm going to go back to my labels and again check my calendar and continue filling out where I have scheduled appointments for the week. So I have something on Tuesday evening, and I'm just going to go ahead and put that right next to my stamping. I did trim off the Monday. I let that hang right off the edge, and I think that's always really interesting when you're composing, putting together composition for something. I let things go off the edge sometimes and see how they look. So you can see I've skipped forward. I've put lots of labels through the rest of my week where I have activities, and now on Saturday it is my husband's birthday. Obviously that's not a time but an all-day thing. So I decided to take another little piece of washi strip and put it down the side of the whole Saturday box. And then that calls some attention over there. It's kind of mimics the diagonal stripe that I have going on the blue above my to-do list. So I just liked how that pulled together. So a few more labels to finish off Sunday, and this is where I noticed that I've smudged some ink somehow. So I'm just going to use my Tombow Mono Sand Eraser, and if you're just patient and you rub around on your paper where you get an ink smudge, it does a beautiful job removing that and cleaning it right up. So if you haven't ever tried that trick, this is just a very inexpensive little tool and has saved me lots of times from my inky fingers. So I'm totally pleased with how this is looking. I like how fresh it feels. I like the color scheme, and now I'm just ready to fill in those labels. A lot of times I use my erasable friction pens, but because I'm writing on labels primarily this week, I'm going ahead and using my Fine Point Inkjoy pen, which is a little darker ink, and I do love how it writes. And of course, if something changes in my week, I can peel a label right off and move it or replace it, so I'm not worried about it. So I just skipped ahead so you don't have to see me write all of that in, but now I have filled those labels in. And the next thing I want to do is indicate my husband's birthday on Saturday. So I went to my card making stamps because in my stash I have a lot of happy birthday sentiments, obviously for birthday cards. And from this set from Waffle Flower, there is a nice one that's just sized really nicely for my columns here. So I'm just going to use that same indigo ink, Island Indigo, and I'm going to stamp Happy Birthday up there on Saturday. And I think that's a cute font also. And in order to put Matt under there, which is my husband's name, I'm just going to use these little, I think they're called Alpha Blocks. This is from Tailored Expressions, and these are great little stamps when you want to spell out a word. They have a lot of oomph, very cute, and with this Stampin' Up! Ink, they just stamp crisp and beautiful. So try not to get my head in the way here. I think I'll skip forward and let you see the finished product once I have all of them stamped. So I've gone ahead and put everything into my Filofax, into my rings, and you can see off camera I did add a few finishing touches. I stamped this dinner fork, knife, and plate dinner stamp down at the bottom so that I could indicate my meals, and I did add a couple of little stars here and there because some more things popped up in my week. And then I've filled in a couple more items on my to-do list and on my exercise plans. But of course this will fill in even more as I go. And then that's it. That's a wrap. I'm just flipping backwards here in my calendar. If you haven't seen lately, I've been on a little kick of doing kind of art journal mixed media style monthly dividers, and I've been having a ton of fun with them. And here's how they are looking in my planner, my A5, and that was a look at last week, and then here we are with this week completed. So that's my week. I hope you enjoyed this process video. Here's a little bit of a brighter and closer look at the finished product. Of course, I've added a few things in. You can see my steps filled in up there. I'm always glad to have you with me. Thanks so much for joining me. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Have a great day.